Hey everybody, welcome back to another great show. We're going to get into the politics of things in the world at the moment. And of course, President Trump wants peace. That's very clear. But does Zelensky and European leaders want peace? Because there's a lot of war hawks in Europe. And of course, Russia and Putin are the bogeyman. So we're going to talk about that today with quite a few different video clips and talk through that. Get your comments in the chat there. Be respectful, of course. People can agree to disagree, but put your comments in there and keep it PG friendly, of course. Hope you guys are having a good time out there. Now, obviously, there's a big deal. It's Ukraine-Russian war. Russia invading Ukraine. Obviously, there's political considerations to be made on both sides, but ultimately, the war's been dragging on. 2014 and then the last 2 years hasn't been great, right? Hasn't been great. So, I personally am with Trump. I want world peace. 3,000 men dying a week. That's no good. All the young men from Russia and Ukraine. It's got to end. It's got to end. That war is not winnable. If anyone was going to win, it would be Russia. So it really does need to end and restore Ukraine, get some peace there. And I agree with Trump's approach. So we're going to get into all that as well. But if you disagree, get into the chat there. Just be respectful, as we say. People can sit on the different sides of the argument there. We've got Hexcavator in the house there. Hey, gang. Hey, good to see Hexcavator. Hope you're doing well. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, smash the subscribe button. If you love politics, economics, crypto, sports, and everything else, get in there. We're going to be covering a lot of it. We're kind of specializing on this issue at the moment because it's such a big deal. So enjoy. If you haven't gone to our Discord, our link is in the video description. Join up to that, $5 a month to join up for the Kryptonite Discord. That's a cup of coffee. Great bunch of people in there as well. Super smart, super nice as well. So get in there. If you want to join our Crypto Strategy Club, $35 a month, I encourage you to get on that one. Constant intel going through there. And of course, if you want to get a one-on-one new offering there, $99 a month for a 45-minute session there. So get in on that as well. Talking crypto, personal finances, and stuff like that. So really cool. All right, so good to see Hexvader in the house there. Get your comments in. Now we're going to kick it off, of course. Let's go. And we're going to get into some of the cool things that are happening. So we're going to start off with Zelensky himself, following on from our show yesterday. So if you haven't saw the show yesterday, check that out because we already went through a number of video clips of Trump and the fallout there at the Oval Office. Pretty unbelievable, really. Zelensky's playing the wrong game and needs to learn about diplomacy. In that meeting, when he was in there, his UN representative had her hand on her head, just couldn't believe that Zelensky was doing what he was doing. Regardless if you agree with Zelensky and the war and you want it to keep going, you don't mind the bloodshed and an unwinnable war, you've got to do the diplomacy and politics, right? You just can't do it that way. So regardless of what you agree, it's going to be interesting. So let's hear from Zelensky himself, following on from our show yesterday. You can watch that first half.
Mr. President.
Yeah.
Do you think your relationship with Donald Trump, President Trump, after today, can be salvaged?
Can be. Yes, of course, because it's relations more than two presidents. It's the historical relations, strong relations between our people. And that's why I always began with to thank your people, from our people. And this is the most important. And of course, thankful to President and of course to Congress, but first of all to your people. Your people help to save our people. People, the first. Human rights, the first. This is very, very important. And we are thankful and sorry for this. I mean, we wanted very much to have only strong relations, and I'm very count that we will have it.
Mr. President, we're honored that you kept this interview. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, so I mean that's Zelensky there, and man, he's just playing the politics all wrong. And of course, in Europe, they hand him the silver spoon, but you're playing all the politics wrong. Trump wants peace, and that's his main driver. So it really was a bad fallout yesterday. And if you go back and watch that full video, about 50 minutes, you'll see how it was ramping up. And Trump kind of let it play out because he wanted to show everyone what he was dealing with on a diplomatic, political side. So definitely an issue there. Now we're going to get into where Zelensky went. So Zelensky obviously got essentially kicked out of the White House there, out through the side door, and then went off and did some shows like Fox News and things like that with Brett Baer, and then eventually ended up going over to the UK. And of course, he's gone to get some money, right? Money. And of course, the Europeans, of course, all lording over him. A lot of them are authoritarians, right? So the West itself is facing authoritarian leaders in France, Germany, particularly in the UK and Canada. They are particularly bad, as well as, of course, Australia and my very own country, New Zealand. They're all on the same page. They're globalists, they're progressives, and Marxists, many of them. So we got our own problems in the West. And of course, they seem to love supporting an ongoing war that cannot be won. It just can't be won. Even with advanced weapons, it's just a ridiculous idea. And that could lead to nuclear war, which is what Trump was trying to warn of. You guys don't know what you're playing with, especially if they decide to put troops on. I mean, that would just be ridiculous if they did non-Ukrainian troops in Ukraine. That would just be a disaster, right? So this is kind of where he's at. But Zelensky, of course, moving on the tour, trying to get some good press. And here's the UK Prime Minister, Starmer, going to, essentially going to UK there. Sorry, just had been to the White House and did a good deal with Trump. Greased him up with the state visit and all that sort of stuff. And he's ended up. Starmer's ended up acting like he's the good boy. He's the leader, and he's helping out Ukraine with this European alliance. So it's pretty crazy stuff. And of course, talking about upping his military and putting troops on the ground in the Ukraine. Europeans are talking about, we'll get your security by putting our troops in Ukraine. There's no way in high water that Putin's going to have troops in the game. Just think about it yourself. You're not going to have troops of your so-called enemy on the other side in there. So pretty disaster there. Now, let's get into the next video there of Zelensky meeting UK Prime Minister. Let's play this one.
Thank you so much. Mr. Handshake? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, let me just say that you're very, very welcome here in Downing Street. As you heard from the cheers on the street outside, you have full...
So that's a very important point there. So the UK Prime Minister Starmer, who's oppressing his own people, right? Take away free speech, putting people in prison for memes, is now talking about, we'll support you for as long as it takes. This is the forever war type of idea. And they just go on and on and on. It's already been 2 years. And of course, Europe, they have already given up about $150 billion to support this, which is just crazy stuff. Trump is trying to go to world peace. You got to remember, these are the same people that called Trump a Nazi and said he was going to be a big warmonger. These are the guys actually going to war. Trump wants world peace. So this is the kind of nuttiness that we get from progressive authoritarians and globalists and Marxists, right? Which are suddenly, destroying a lot of the West anyway, with high crime and the rest of it. You guys know the story. So it is pretty crazy, that stuff. And he's with glee, he's doing it with a smile as well. Pretty crazy. Now, I think people can understand that Ukraine's army is going to had to be sustained until we get a ceasefire and a peace deal. But until that point, it's just the gleefulness of it. It's just pretty crazy. So let's watch the rest of this.
I hope you heard some of that cheering in the street. That is
cheering in the street. I mean, come on. It's just, after the Trump fallout where he did a terrible job, Zelensky, remember, Zelensky was there to sign a Ukrainian mineral deal about rare earths, which would have been huge for both America and Ukraine, and many other deals that were going to follow that, to give bargaining power into the negotiations once they got Putin on the table, which had already started in Saudi Arabia, right? So they have to start with the process first and then the negotiations, right? Whereas Zelensky is trying to get it all up at the beginning, which just doesn't happen. That's just bad diplomacy. So does he really want peace, or is he just immature and just inexperienced, right? It's just pretty crazy stuff. And PM Starmer, I mean, he's wrecking his own country, so we'll see.
People of the United Kingdom coming out to demonstrate how much they support you, how much they support Ukraine, and our absolute determination to stand with you, unwavering.
He said that all the people in the UK support this. Well, that's just not true, right? There's a lot of, at the moment, Reform UK is the most popular party, and they want to shut down a lot of stuff. And I would say that they have mild support at best, and a lot of their members wouldn't support this. So just normal, exaggerations here.
Determination, and to achieve what we both want to achieve, which is a lasting peace. A lasting peace.
Do they, though? Do they really want to do that? That's the question, right? So you guys can think about that. You guys have see it, but I'm questionable about whether they actually want peace. And for Zelensky, it's more billions of dollars. We already know there's a massive amount of money missing, something like 75 billion or something thereabouts. Who knows where it is? It's like there's other issues around. Is Zelensky becoming a billionaire, all that sort of stuff? Because Ukraine before the war, a lot of corruption, a lot of biolabs, a lot of Nazis. They had all the stuff, a lot of intimidation, a lot of attacks of the churches. I mean, there's lots of issues outside of the war is there too. So it's pretty crazy. Quid pro quos from Biden. I mean, there's lots of things going on in the UK and before the war even started. So some pretty crazy stuff there.
Ukraine based on sovereignty and security for Ukraine. So important for Ukraine, so important for Europe, and so important for the United Kingdom.
So we agree with that. I mean, sovereignty and protection for the Ukraine, that's the outcome. That's why we want peace. So they can have sovereignty, Ukraine, they can get back to having elections and move forward, right? So that's we agree with that part for sure.
Looking forward to our discussions here this afternoon. Thank you very much for making the time to come.
With pleasure. Thank you very much, Keir. Mr. Prime Minister, happy to be here. And really, I saw a lot of people, and I want to thank you, people of the United Kingdom, such big support from the very beginning of this war. Thank you, your team. And I'm very happy that His Majesty the King accepted my meeting tomorrow. And I'm thankful that you organized such a great summit for tomorrow. And we are very happy in Ukraine that we have such strategic partners. We signed with you historic documents.
100-year agreement.
Yeah, we have only with you such documents with the United Kingdom. So we're happy, and we count on your support. And really, really, we're really happy that we have such partners and such friends.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, so that there was supposed to be an example, of course, of countering the meeting in the White House at the Oval Office, making it all nice and furry and fuzzy and warm and supportive, and of course, talking about how they've been around as a supporter since the beginning of the war, how they got a 100-year agreement, they're the only ones, how all the people outside are cheering, whoever they are, right? So it is pretty crazy stuff, right? So at the end of the day, 2,000 to 3,000 men are dying every week. And that could have started, the process to stop that could have started with Trump and making the deal with Trump's, rather than try to make all these preconditions that he just can't get because Putin's just not going to entertain it, right? The first thing that Putin said he's going to do in an interview today was that he's going to want to have relationships with the United States, not with Europe, not with Ukraine, because he considers them antagonistic, and just as they are. And of course, he wants to basically get into, moving in towards getting relations with America and getting that embassies in place, getting the process ready for potentially ceasefire for negotiations for actual peace with all the security requirements there. But Zelensky's kind of front run all that process. That's just not practical. This is not reality. So they have to get that right as well. All right, so this is after that meeting, of course, they ended up signing a $5 billion loan bill, basically a loan agreement there to keep help fund the Ukrainian military as it stands today. And that's the next meeting here. Wait for that to queue up there. We got a few other comments in the chat, so I'll post a few of those as well. Toodles, Johnny. Ukraine has lost another city today. It's completely surrounded. Hey, look, they are actually losing on the battlefield in many areas, and they're certainly not winning the war, and definitely losing stuff. Now, Ukraine has taken a few spots. Apart from that, they are in big trouble there. Tortoise Johnny says Starmer is a total snake. He is indeed. And of course, we've got our own problems. You know, in World War II, we were the goodies, but now we've got a lot of baddies inside of our own governments that are wrecking our countries forever. They'll never be the same again, right? So we've got our own problems there. The Tortoise Johnny says the US was going to get a minerals deal with Russia and Ukraine. Easy peasy. Zelensky, lol, is too tall. Yeah, a real problem there for sure.
Was the cross-party
Hedgehog there says, "Can I borrow $5 billion?" Yeah, well, maybe go to the UK and you could do it there.
Allies.
All right, so just waiting for this video to play at the moment.
It's about helping to secure the territorial integrity. Loan agreement, and I want to thank you and your ministry for your work in getting to this point. As you say, unique amongst the G7, the money available from our loan agreement will enable you to use those funds in the way that you best see fit, including for military procurement, so that you can better defend your country. And of course, this is in addition to the £3 billion a year ongoing support from the United Kingdom to Ukraine. I also just wanted to say, Minister, that we had to take this legislation through Parliament, and one thing that struck me when we did that was the cross-party support for it, and indeed do whatever it takes to stand by our allies. Of course, this money is about helping to secure the territorial integrity of Ukraine and protecting your security. But if I might say, it's bigger than that. It's about the security and prosperity of all of Europe. And we're pleased to play our part alongside you in the huge efforts and undertakings that you're making. But perhaps now is the moment to sign this loan agreement, Minister.
Let's start.
Well, thank you very much. And that's our side of it. And
all right, so you can see that deal being signed there.
Disbursements of money, we should be able to make those to Ukraine. I know that they are needed as quickly as possible. Thank you so much, Minister, for being able to join us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, so a bit of clap there, a bit of a show for that signing after Trump, of course. So a little cringeworthy for sure. But this is what you get from these people, right? So pretty crazy. Now, don't forget, Prime Minister Starmer has put people in jail for memes, for normal political discourse and disagreements, and he's ramping that up. That's only going to accelerate. Now, obviously, at the White House, at his meeting, both the Secretary of State and the Vice President have talked to him about free speech and the imposement there, so that's a big issue as well. But here he is, on the other hand, trying to defend freedom over in Ukraine, and of course defend the European borders. It is pretty crazy stuff, right? It is pretty crazy stuff. The irony there, and of course they're making a big show of it just to show up Trump. And the Americans, they're just putting a wedge between the Americans in that regard. Even though they had a good meeting with UK Starmer the other day and a good agreements, these things do put wedges in the middle between there. And we know that Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform UK, is probably in the background helping out a few things there. And we've got some more comments in the chat here, so let's get to those. Remember, you can have disagreements about opinions in the chat. Just keep it nice and friendly. That's pretty much all I ask. We got Hedgehog in the house there. If not, you can have my cage. Yeah, you can do that. Thanks for that. We got Hedgehog always brings the immaturity to the chat, but that's all good. We got see the link on how we got there. Yes, yes, Steak. That's true. Now I've posted a number of full videos on the channel, so you can definitely check all those out as well. Hedgehog says Zelensky can fit in my cage. Oh, you've double played that. Yeah. Hey, Hedgehog, keep your opinions to yourself. I think we might have to ban Hedgehog for the chat there. Steakx says the US and Ukraine can provoke Russia since 2014. says State Tech. The US and Ukraine have provoked Russia since 2014. Now, look, there's been, many of you may not be aware, even if you're supporting the pushback there, is that, NATO has been encroaching on former USSR territory and the border of Russia since 1992. So it is a real issue from Putin's point of view, not from ours necessarily. I mean, but from theirs for sure. I'm not even near Europe. I'm just trying to look at it as objectively as I can, and I'm just sick of tired of all the deaths. I've been watching countless videos of people getting killed there. It's mindless. It's absolutely mindless. People get out of armored vehicles, they hop onto the ground, and there's a mine, and their legs blow up. I mean, it's that how violent. There's just many things like that, just endless stuff. And of course, Trump's seen aerial photos of whole battlefields with men and just massacred everywhere, right? So there's a really big problem there. And there are a lot of war hawks. Not only were there in the Democrat Party, but there were also in Europe. There's a lot of war hawks there. They don't care about people. They really don't care, that people die. It's all about power and control and having an enemy. Now, it's not to justify Putin going in and a lot of the deaths. I'm not justifying in that because he did wrong there. But you can see the reasons why he did that. So yeah. All right, so let's get on to the next one there. We got some more video cues. So we're going to check out that. So that was what happened. Zelensky went through to Fox and that, did some stuff, went to the UK, got a big agreement signed, got a huge, big show welcome. And, of course, it's going to be meeting the king as well. Having a meeting with the king is also so another big move there. But here's some commentary. I've got a video that's kind of pro Zelensky. Got another video that's kind of critical of. So first one, we're going to watch the critical one. This is from Sky in Australia. And so we're going to check this one out. Once it plays, of course. All right, just waiting for that to play.
Yes, the whole world is talking about the spat in the Oval Office. Was it a setup? Was it not a setup?
A few little teething things here.
Was it
technology?
Was
there
it
it goes.
Zelensky who set up the others? Was it Trump or Vance who set up Zelensky? Who knows? Rita and James, what did you make of it? What exciting television. Donald Trump was right about that, wasn't he?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, it was exciting television, and I've been just as excited and appalled by some of the so-called analysis in the aftermath. Clear that most of those doing the analysing haven't even bothered to watch the full 53-minute interaction, because it wasn't just the last 5 or 7 minutes. And it wasn't just the 53 minutes, it's everything that has led up to that. And Annalise Nielsen just did a very good bit of analysis on Sky News, and it's one of the rare ones that you see from the Australian media, because it is such surface level, born so much out of ignorance. If you've been paying attention to US politics over the last 4 years, certainly the last 2 years, nothing that happened should surprise you. The US's position, Donald Trump's position on Ukraine, has been clear for years, and the polling in the States backs that up. The American people do not want to fund this war.
Yep, that's
now,
right.
You might say that's not morally correct. We don't agree with that position. That's fine, but that is their position. They don't want to pay for this war. They want Europe to pick up the slack.
But I think you hit a really good point there, Reza. The point is that you can still support Zelensky from a moral point of view. Russia should not have invaded.
Well,
you can talk about the whole background, and that's a separate thing. But James, you don't invade another country, so that's fine. Russia should not have invaded. But there's only 2 ways forward. Yeah. One way is you stop the war now, you draw a line, and you stop killing. The other way is one side has to win that war. Well, no one's going to defeat the Russians. You're just not going to do it. Maybe, you never know, in some fantasy novel you could. Alternatively, could the Russians defeat the Ukrainians? Probably. The reality is the war has to stop, and Zelensky was a fool not to take that moment, not to grab that moment and say, this is it, let's finish the war, James.
This was an absolute disaster for Zelensky, and the evidence was the Ukrainian ambassador to the United States was face-palming during the press conference, because the whole conference, Zelensky's sitting there fidgeting. He wants to make a statement. This is Trump's press conference. Let Trump do his thing, but to try to argue your point, and J.D. Vance didn't provoke this. Zelensky provoked it by trying to argue the case in front of everybody. You do that behind closed doors.
And it's interesting you say that, because it's almost like a microcosm of the war. Who provoked who? Who started it?
But
Who said diplomacy first? Who said this first? Who said that first?
They had a deal that was being worked on that was enormously advantageous to Ukraine. And for some crazy reason, Zelensky decided to renegotiate it in front of the world's media in the White House, knowing the positions that Trump and Vance have on this entire issue. It was extraordinary. And I do wonder whether it was calculated or whether it was just him
there are those
losing
who are
his
saying
temper.
that the White House calculated
No,
it.
if you watch the full 53 minutes, I don't think any sort of sane person could say that, because he was goading them repeatedly, and Trump was uncharacteristically diplomatic for a good 40, 45 minutes, sort of letting things go. And even J.D. Vance let a lot go through to the keeper until it just got too much. And one thing we've got to talk about is, again, morally, of course, Russia is in the wrong, Putin is in the wrong. They should not be invading a smaller country. They should not be taking advantage of the weakness in the White House at that time to do that. But we've also got to look at the reality that, as you said, Ukraine isn't going to win this war. We know that. So what are the options? And even some of the most ardent pro-Ukraine experts have clearly said there's three options. Either you give up and give Putin what he wants. Obviously, no one wants to do that. Or you continue this war, and if you actually want to win it, if you want Ukraine to win it, you've got to commit forces. You've got to commit ground forces. You've got to commit a lot more arms.
As Donald Trump said, you've got to gamble with World War III because the Russians have nukes.
It's probably going to spark World War III. And really, all those European countries who are coming and posting, tweeting about their support, even our own Prime Minister, are you willing to send troops?
So that's right. So that was the one from Sky. So I mean, a lot of logical stuff in that video. I think about what was going on, and it was just pretty crazy, right? Pretty crazy. Now we've got a couple of good comments in the chat there, so I'm going to read those. We've got Steak Hex is he's on another war funding tour. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, he intentionally was ratcheting up that issue there in the Oval Office. Was he really for peace? And I know he put an X post on saying that he was, happy to sign the deal and move forward. But really, it feels like he's on a war funding tour. He wanted to sink the White House route, which was the logical route to go to solve the issue, right? It's just pretty crazy. And because all the stuff he's talking about, security guarantees, you don't get that in that order. That's not the order that you're going to get them. So it was pretty crazy there. And particularly more money and commitments from the US. I mean, it's just a funding tour, right? So it's pretty crazy where Trump's trying to go for peace. So I really did feel like he was trying to sabotage that to some degree. And maybe he's a little bit of mixed emotions about it, but it was just terrible behavior. Now, I thought it was hilarious the last time he did this. He stopped by the Vatican for cash for his cocaine and weapons. You can't make this up. Yeah, well, hey, look, I actually think he's a bit of a narcissist myself and got a number of issues. Cocaine may be one of them, I don't know, but he's definitely got a lot of issues there. What else there? Tortoise Johnny says, you guys caught Zelensky calling Vance a name in the Oval Office. Yes, that's right. So apparently in Ukrainian, he did call him a bitch, which is not a very good word. It's that tension was definitely there. And it was already there from the meeting that Zelensky had with the Secretary of State and Rubio, and of course the Vice President Vance there in Munich in Europe prior to this meeting here. So there was already some tension there because obviously they want to move to peace with Trump's leadership, and it's questionable at best because I kind of feel like they're really not after peace. Because Zelensky was just nonstop bitter in the whole meeting. He was just bitter, and who knows what else? What if you add in bitterness and corruption, then you got problems, right? Got to remember, he's not fighting at the front line. He's not why there's 2,000-3,000 troops getting killed every week. So it's the other side of it too. Let's see what else we got here. We got some more stuff. Yeah, if you want to join Discord, definitely join up to that. We got another video to look at in a minute, but definitely join up to that. $5 a month to join up. If you want to join our Crypto Strategy Club, $35 a month. If you want one-on-one sessions with me around crypto and personal finance and things like that, then that's $99 a month. That's a brand new offer today that we've just started. So check that out. Got another offering coming up soon too as well. So stay tuned for that. What else we got going here? And let's have a look at some of these comments. StakeX says, I can't believe these people are asking who provoked who. You are kidding around with me. Yeah, let's not ignore history up until Russia advanced a few years ago. Well, yeah, that's what I said. Since 1992, NATO has been moving, taking state after state, joining NATO. And of course, the Ukraine wants to join as well. That would be right up to the Russian borders. It makes no sense from Russia's point of view. They want their defense, right? They don't want their buffer. And of course, a lot of those countries are former USSR countries. So it is a big challenge. So, from a political point of view. Let's see what else there. Torch Johnny says, yeah, as soon as Vance interrupted Zelensky, he called him, in his language. That's right. It was pretty hardcore. And in the Oval Office in front of the world, crazy stuff, right? Crazy stuff. Crypto Cos says, are you on X? I was on X, but I'm suspended from X, because I was making political comments. So this is what it is, right? They didn't give me a good reason either. They didn't tell me why I was suspended. They just suspended me. What else there? Let's see some of these other stuff, comments here. StakeX says these dink celebrities and pinkos who are acting like he is the second coming of Winston Churchill are delusional. He's a dictator that kills his own people and through military age men into vans. That's right. A lot of problems there for sure. What else there? Tortoise Jones says he was telling him he should apologize to Trump. I don't think he caught it. Was while watching it in the White House YouTube channel. Yeah, probably. No, but I did see the fact that he had done that around swearing at him in Ukrainian. All right, so let's have a look here. We got a few others. StakeX says it's such an incredible show. Superman may know geopolitics better than he knows crypto. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks very much. All right, let's get on to our final clip as well. So let's pull that in there. I've had to change things a little around here, just getting used to the new format. But other than that, we're going pretty good. So let me play this last video. Let me have to import it first. And we'll go for gold. Oh, just realized I'm on the wrong side here. All right, let me add that in there. We've played that video, haven't we? Yeah, we have. So let's remove that. And I've had to make a few adjustments live, which I don't generally like to do, but it is what it is. Let me just fidget around here. And I'm going to wait for that to load up, actually. That might take a minute or two. We'll have to keep an eye on that. All right, in the meantime, get your comments into the chat there, just as we fix a few things up here live. Torch John said, NATO violated the agreement with the Russians.
Good evening. I'm John Yang. Tonight, Washington and European capitals are still feeling the reverberations of yesterday's heated Oval Office exchange between President Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Hours after Mr. Trump scolded Zelensky for not showing enough appreciation for U.S. support, the Ukrainian leader posted on X, "We are very grateful to the United States for all the support. I'm thankful to President Trump, Congress for their bipartisan support, and the American people." He also reiterated his opposition to a quick ceasefire that President Trump wants, saying Russian leader Vladimir Putin can't be trusted. Now Zelensky is in London to rally the support of European leaders.
Let's see.
Today he met with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
And so let's see how that's going. Oh, it's actually playing, so that's good. Hopefully I haven't restarted the video. Maybe I have. Oh, accidentally restarted it. Sorry about that. Apologize. Yesterday it was flawless, but today not so much. All right, so let's see if that video starts up again. Tortoise Johnny
Good
says
evening.
your logo
I'm
is
John
awesome.
Yang.
I appreciate that.
Tonight,
Johnny,
Washington and European capitals are still feeling the reverberations of yesterday's heated Oval Office exchange between President Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
All right, so
hours after
this.
Mr. Trump scolded Zelensky for not showing enough appreciation for U.S. support, the Ukrainian leader posted on X, "We are very grateful to the United States for all the support. I'm thankful to President Trump, Congress for their bipartisan support, and the American people." He also reiterated his opposition to a quick ceasefire.
Yeah, so I mean, you can read that. We are very grateful to the United States for all the support. So it was a bit of a thing. A ceasefire won't work with Putin. Now, this is where we disagree with him, right? So that is the problem there. So I'm having a few difficulties with this video, unfortunately. See if it restarts there. Might try that one more time. We'll get there soon. We'll get there soon. I'm just going to let it run this time. It's going to let the video run once it starts. So, yeah, it's this one here does have some parts in it where it's semi.
Good evening, I'm John Yang. So tonight, Washington and European capitals are still feeling the reverberations of yesterday's heated Oval Office exchange between President Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Hours after Mr. Trump scolded Zelensky for not showing enough appreciation for U.S. support, the Ukrainian leader posted on X, "We are very grateful to the United States for all the support. I'm thankful to President Trump, Congress for their bipartisan support, and the American people." He also reiterated his opposition to a quick ceasefire that President Trump wants, saying Russian leader Vladimir Putin can't be trusted. Now Zelensky is in London to rally the support of European leaders. Today he met with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and tomorrow he'll attend a European summit in London to discuss the way forward. Kurt Volker is a former U.S. Special Envoy to Ukraine and a former U.S. Ambassador to NATO. Mr. Volker, what do you expect to come out of this European summit tomorrow that Zelensky is attending?
Well, I think there are some good things that we've seen already. These expressions of European support and solidarity for Ukraine. I think it's important for Zelensky psychologically. I think it's also important for the Ukrainian people. But I hope that behind closed doors, they're actually talking about what kind of things need to be done to get Ukraine and the United States and Europe all on the same page again. We can't be creating a dynamic of Europe and Ukraine against the United States. We all have to pull together. And there, I think it's going to be a matter of Europe being willing to put on the table forces for security assurances for Ukraine. And I think it's got to be President Zelensky saying that he wants peace, he wants to have a ceasefire, he will agree to one as soon as Putin does, to get things back on track with the U.S. as well.
If U.S. aid were to be cut or even go away, could Ukraine go on with just European support? Are there enough forces and hardware to keep them going?
It's not enough. It's good. It is supportive. It'll buy Ukraine time. But the U.S. provides many unique capabilities, including intelligence, satellites, training, equipping, logistics. There is so much that the U.S. is doing here that is vital to this. It is not enough Europe on its own, although it is very important that Europe play a major role.
You say it's important to get all three sides, Ukraine, the United States, and Europe on the same side. But in European capitals, aren't they seeing what happened yesterday and him, the way he talked and the way he talked about the war in Ukraine, a message to Europe that you're on your own? I mean, the war in Ukraine obviously is about European security to the European leaders.
No, I don't think that was the message. I think the message was that we got to get Putin to the negotiating table. You don't want to bash Putin, criticize him personally, and then never get an end to the war. If you want to end the war, you got to get Putin to the negotiating table. Basically, taking a position that is firmly, fighting against Putin. Trump is not going to do that. That he wants to actually end the war right now. And so he's being careful not to position himself that way. Unfortunately, what happened in that meeting, Zelensky, I think, missed a real opportunity to get the U.S. and Ukraine in alignment. Trump has been putting together this concept, if you will, of a ceasefire, reciprocity with Ukraine, where we get paid back for military assistance, so it's a fair deal for the American people, deterrence in terms of security assurances and European presence so Putin doesn't attack again, and improving the burden sharing ratio so that Europe does more, the U.S. does relatively less.
And since this meeting, he's also said that he doesn't want a quick ceasefire because he doesn't think Putin will keep his commitments. Clearly, that's what President Trump wants. How do you bridge that gap and save this relationship?
Yeah, exactly. And Zelensky needs to reframe the way he's talking about this. Saying he doesn't want a ceasefire because he doesn't trust Putin is the wrong way to say it. The way to say it is he wants a ceasefire as soon as Putin agrees to do that as well. And it will never be Ukraine that is the first to break, but if Putin breaks a ceasefire, Ukraine will defend itself. He needs to flip it back onto Putin and say that Ukraine is willing and ready for peace. It's Putin that's not.
Yesterday in the Oval Office meeting, we saw a continuation of a pattern of President Trump not criticizing Putin, as a matter of fact, expressing sympathy with Putin, while excoriating the leader of the country that Putin invaded. Why is that?
Well, I think you have to go back to earlier in the meeting. Trump was very positive toward Zelensky, toward Ukraine, praising Ukrainian soldiers. He was setting this up to be very positive for Zelensky. And it was only after Zelensky then responded to J.D. Vance talking about diplomacy that it became a bit of a back and forth and an argument. And then you saw Trump lash out and criticize President Zelensky. As far as Putin goes, Trump is trying to avoid personalizing and demonizing Putin because he needs to get Putin to the table. And I think President Trump thought.
All right, I had a few issues there. I'm sure got some issues going on here. I don't know if you guys can hear that audio or not, but we'll just play it. So, just got a few technical issues today, unfortunately. And hopefully you can't hear that audio, but I have no idea where this audio is coming, but sorry about that. Just some major technical issues there with the video playing and playing doubly in the studio. Now, hope you guys have enjoyed that content. Now, I think the former ambassador to Ukraine there had some good points to make. I think Zelensky is just way off the reserve. And of course, what's his motive? And that's what Trump is like. What's your motive? What do you really want? Peace? So I think that's a very big issue there. StakeX says it's crazy. Does England think that 2.3 billion is enough to beat Russia? Yeah, they have a $3 billion annual commitment there, in addition to those extra loans and other grants that they've given. I'd be outraged if I was a British citizen. Won't buy 2 months of the inedible. Yeah, that's right. They've got to face reality, and only Trump seems to be facing reality in the room. Like I said, the Europeans, obviously the 20th century was full of wars, right? The US had to come and save the bacon there. And the US only came to save the bacon in World War II because of the Nazi agreement that Hitler had with the Japanese, right? That one attack is attack on all. So when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, and then the Nazis had to come in, that was really what lost the Nazis the war, because then the Americans came in on Europe, and it was just a matter of time after that. So pretty crazy. So what else we got there? We got StakeX got another comment there. Note to everyone: Zelensky showed up to England to beg for more money because he is out of friends. Trump gave him good advice to wear a suit, and he still didn't. That's petulance, yeah. Not wearing a suit's pretty crazy. He does look really bad. I don't like it myself. I think when you're a leader of a state. If you're a president, you should be wearing a suit, but he walks around in that costume for some reason. It's all good, Man of Steel, says StakeX. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So yeah, we're just working out the nuances in this new software. So hopefully I'll fix that up and won't have the same issue tomorrow. Let's see here. I think those are the main comments that we had. Very, very cool. Tortoise Johnny says show pony nonsense. Yeah. Zelensky had a huge opportunity there. Like the ambassador said, that you can't, he won't be able to keep that war going just on his own because of the unique things that US offers to the battlefield, as well as money. Remember, that's about 150 billion from the Europeans, about 350 billion from the Americans, with still a certain amount. I think it's somewhere around 100 billion still outstanding, but then there's also like $100 billion lot missing. So there needs to be reconciliation. And we know Ukraine, despite the war and the moral justice of fighting all that, that we know there's a lot of corruption in Ukraine. So where's the money? Where's the money? Right. So we'll see what happens with that in the future as well. That's kind of an outstanding issue that's coming up. So yeah, pretty crazy times. What a botch up, really. Honestly, what a botch up. Does he really want peace? That's the question. You decide for yourself. I'm a little bit questionable with that, and I know the Europeans are warmongers as well, and authoritarians. I mean, look what they're doing to their own people in Germany, France, UK, other countries, taking away people's rights and freedoms. They're doing it like 1,000 cuts, so they slowly take more and more freedoms away and put more and more oppressions in place. And like I said, unlike World War II, where we were the goodies, clear goodies, as the West leaders, these globalist progressives, these Marxists that are in power, they're the baddies now. We're getting that in our country. They're destroying our country, New Zealand. Our country was already it was like so cool. And now we've got crime going up. We've got all our people basically being replaced. It's our culture's going to be in decline. It's so much stuff. We've got apartheid being put into place. It's just crazy stuff. I mean, these are just some terrible people running our countries. And a lot of it's coordinated with the UN and with these globalist powers, these secret people that we don't see. So it is pretty crazy stuff going on here. And of course, Trump wants world peace. He wants peace. He wants prosperity. He wants to turn the United States back to greatness, the golden era. He's going to do that for the US. And these Europeans are going to, they're mulling around with really poor economies. I mean, the US, all these economies are really bad. I mean, France, UK, I mean, they're doing some terrible things, net zero, disastrous, getting rid of energy. Look what the Germans did. Got rid of all the nuclear power stations, and then suddenly they needed gas from Russia in places. So it is really, really crazy. StakeX says, man, you call it, buddy. Getting worse for freedom in Europe for sure. Nailed it, brother. Absolutely, man. It is getting horrific. And we're worried about it here because we've had one of the ministers call our so-called law society to do stuff around hate crime and stuff. It's just nonsense. And yet the media is ridiculous too. The media will only say, they'll call out anything that's attacked on their issues. They'll call it as a hate crime. But when there's hate crimes on like churches and stuff being burned down, they're quiet. They don't even talk about it. So it's just, this is a system where it's rigged and one side controls the other. It's pretty bad. So this is the kind of the cool, refreshing thing that we've seen from Trump, is that he's returning the West back to greatness, because the West could be amazing, but we've got really evil forces operating in the West right now, and some of those countries I just mentioned before are leading that oppression, including Canada, I would say, and even Australia to some degree, although the Australian leader is very weak. He's weak on foreign policy, but he's good at oppressing his own people and destroying the Australian economy for some reason. That's the video on the baddies. If you haven't seen that, check that out. It's very, very funny. Who is the baddies? And it's like these guys dressed up like Nazis saying, are we the baddies? Are we the bad guys? So it was a pretty funny video. Thanks, Brian, for that. All right, so that is kind of where we are there. Had a few technical issues today, but I hope you guys enjoyed most of those videos. And once again, you don't have to agree with everything that's said in this show, but hopefully that's been pretty informative as well. All right, I want to end the war. I want peace. I want the people to stop dying, and I want Ukraine to start being rebuilt and so forth. But like I said to you, a lot of people don't realize that even after peace, if the Ukraine gets to become a member of the EU, they're going to be invaded without a shot fired, because they're going to have to take Middle Eastern and African immigrants. They're all male, war-age males, just like the UK and France, and they're all Islamic, and they're all just going to come into the Ukraine. So it's pretty crazy. So imagine being a soldier. Your mates die on the front battlefield. You're fighting for your country. You're willing to spill blood, and then you get back, and eventually the country gets a EU membership. It's in pre-membership at the moment. You get EU membership, and you get taken over by invasion without a gunshot fired. And I can't imagine what that's going to look like. But that may be something that's coming up in the future. That's going to be pretty scary if that does occur. It's going to be a bad outcome. And a lot of people don't even realize that. But that is what you're required to under the EU. You have to take people in. That's why Poland has resisted. And Poland doesn't have the violence, doesn't have the jihadis, doesn't have the terrorism, because they've got a big fence around. They've policed it. And people are still trying to get in there to cause crime and things like that. So they even killed a border guard, remember, with a sword or something like that, a spear or sword or something. Hexog says Bitcoin is the way. It certainly is one element to freedom is crypto, which is something that we cover regularly on this channel, of course. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And we're going to end it there, 50 minutes on the hour. Make sure that don't get those technical issues next time. But until then, catch you. And don't forget, subscribe, like, share, hit the bell, join our Discord. Links in the video description. You can either become a member, $5, strategy club member, $35, or get one-on-one sessions around crypto and personal finance and budgeting, stuff like that on those one-on-ones. So that's a new offering today. Check it out. Links in the video description. If you have any issues, let me know. All right, take care. Bye for now. No, really. We're going now. All right, enjoy.